And isn't the best acting always about making us feel our common humanity beyond separate identities? A black George Washington in Hamilton, of course. But Ryan Gosling as Frederick Douglass? Yes, that would be problematic. Ditto Shia LaBeouf as Shaft. It's... Why don't we just go by merit and let the best actor win? Which seems like what happened when Ana de Armas just got picked to play Marilyn Monroe, even though she's Cuban with an accent. Hey, maybe she should play Fidel Castro and...
If you think Bill Maher's clash with woke Hollywood has cooled down, think again. The last time he went after celebrities and their performative activism, it triggered a full-blown Hollywood meltdown. Now he's back for round 2, this time taking direct aim at casting directors, the gatekeepers who decide not only who gets the role, but also who quietly disappears from the industry. Maher's latest strike hit a nerve, forcing insiders to squirm as he exposed how diversity quotas have slowly pushed genuine talent aside. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's dive in.
Casting directors have to stop listening to the casting police and go back to doing their job, which is picking the best actor for the role. Now, I mention this because a lot of people lately are either apologizing for or calling on others to apologize for playing roles they call appropriation. James Franco was just chosen to play Fidel Castro, and John Leguizamo posted, "No more appropriation. Boycott. It's f***ed up. I don't got a problem with Franco, but he ain't Latino." Okay, but John Leguizamo is Colombian American. He ain't a Venetian, but he played one.
And that's where the real problem lies with these self-appointed casting enforcers. When the system works in their favor, they proudly call it progress. But the second it doesn't, they cry discrimination. The hypocrisy couldn't be louder. Their outrage has nothing to do with fairness or artistic truth. It's about guarding their own interests. Strip away the virtue signaling, and what you're left with is a desperate scramble for money, fame, and validation. They're not defending art. They're defending their spotlight, bending any narrative necessary to keep it fixed on them.
He ain't a French little person or an Italian plumber, but he played them too. Because he's an actor. Why the hell do you think people become actors? Because they want to spend their life not being who they are.
I can't help but wonder what was really going through John Leguizamo's mind when he made that post. Here's a man who's thrived in a system that celebrates the very freedom he's now condemning. The freedom to portray lives, backgrounds, and experiences different from your own. That's what acting has always been about. The power to inhabit another person's story and connect emotionally beyond barriers of identity. The magic lies in transformation, in becoming someone you're not. So, when Leguizamo suddenly decides to draw lines around who can play whom, it doesn't feel like progress. It feels like hypocrisy, disguised as virtue.
Appropriating sounds like an unforgivable sin until you remember that's what acting is. That's why acting jobs are called roles. Sean Penn won an Oscar for playing gay civil rights martyr Harvey Milk. At the time, it was considered a courageous act of solidarity for a straight male movie star to play a homosexual. Now it's the opposite. Eddie Redmayne played a transgender woman in The Danish Girl, but now calls that a mistake because many people don't have a chair at the table. Well, actually, in movies now they do. And what does it have to do with you playing trans? Does it then work the other way? Can trans actors only play trans characters? Because that's not going to be a good deal for them.
And I completely agree. Eddie Redmayne had nothing to apologize for. He was simply doing what great actors do, acting. As one of the most gifted and versatile performers of his generation, his work in The Danish Girl was extraordinary. He brought sensitivity, compassion, and emotional depth to the role, giving the trans community a respectful and deeply human portrayal on screen. So where exactly was the problem? The outrage made no sense, but that's the thing about the perpetually woke. Satisfaction isn't the goal. Even when someone honors their cause through art, they'll find a reason to be offended. It's no longer about progress. It's about enforcing an impossible moral standard.
And isn't the best acting always about making us feel our common humanity beyond separate identities? A black George Washington in Hamilton, of course. But Ryan Gosling as Frederick Douglass? Yes, that would be problematic. Why don't we just go by merit and let the best actor win? Which seems like what happened when Ana de Armas just got picked to play Marilyn Monroe, even though she's Cuban with an accent. Hey, maybe she should play Fidel Castro and James Franco can play Marilyn Monroe, and then we can all stay in our lanes. Is that what diversity and inclusion look like now? Everybody staying in their lane?
As I mentioned before, it's hard not to see a hidden motive behind all this outrage. Think about it. When a minority actor takes on a traditionally white role, it's hailed as progress and representation. But when a white actor steps into a minority role, it's suddenly called problematic or cultural appropriation. How does that make sense? Art should be guided by talent, not identity. This double standard reveals how selective and performative much of the outrage really is. Bill Maher is right to call it out. Fairness can't be situational. You either believe in artistic freedom or you don't. There's no middle ground.
And James Franco can play Marilyn Monroe, and then we can all stay in our lanes. Is that what diversity and inclusion look like now? Everybody staying in their lane? Lawrence of Arabia was gay. Peter O'Toole wasn't. I can live with that because he was so cool, he almost made me gay. Emma Stone caught hell for playing a Hawaiian, Jake Gyllenhaal for playing a Persian, Gal Gadot for wanting to play Cleopatra, Johnny Depp for playing an Indian, even though he's not an actual Comanche, and spoiler alert, he also doesn't really have scissor hands.
People need to let art breathe again. When it's left alone, free from the constant grip of woke policing, it naturally does what it's meant to do: challenge, inspire, and reflect the full range of human experience. Art should celebrate imagination, not check boxes for identity quotas. The moment we start deciding who can or can't play a role based on race, gender, or background, we drain creativity of its soul. Let's not forget that Hollywood is also a business. Studios invest millions into a film, so they should have the freedom to cast whoever best embodies the role and delivers a powerful performance. Audiences don't pay for lectures on identity politics. They come for real stories, emotion, and art that moves them.
Tom Hanks now says that if Philadelphia were made today, he wouldn't do it because the character was gay and he's not. Well, besides the fact that this would force all gay actors to reveal their sexuality, even if they didn't want to, great actors, which Tom is one, try hard to keep their private lives private so we don't think of their real lives when we see them in a movie that attempts to transport us into a different world. Could you really look at this actress now and not think of the trial? Should she only play bedwetters now?
The woke crowd isn't just suffocating art by insisting only people with matching identities play certain roles. They're stripping away the audience's ability to lose themselves in a story. Acting has always been about transformation, about stepping out of yourself to become someone else entirely. But when every casting decision gets filtered through politics and identity, that magic vanishes. Viewers stop seeing the character and start evaluating whether the actor qualifies. The result? Performances that feel safe, predictable, and hollow. Crafted to appease, not inspire. What was once storytelling becomes propaganda, and cinema, the art form that once united people, turns into another battlefield in the culture war.
What's Daniel Day-Lewis really like? I haven't a clue, which is why he's so great. Because when he plays Lincoln, I only see Lincoln. I don't think, well, there's a British heterosexual. But Hanks says, I don't think people would accept the inauthenticity of a straight guy playing a gay guy because, quote, we're beyond that now. Don't get him started on bosom buddies. Does Forrest Gump get thrown under the bus too because Tom isn't really mentally challenged? And as far as we're beyond that, no, that implies progress. This is the opposite. This is regression.
Maher hits the nail on the head. This isn't progress. It's regression disguised as virtue. Instead of bringing people together through a shared love of art and creativity, the obsession with identity-based casting only divides us further. For generations, acting was built on empathy, the ability to step into someone else's experience and bring it to life. Now, the woke gatekeepers want to shrink that space, insisting that only those with identical traits can portray certain roles. Maher exposes the absurdity perfectly. If that logic were true, only mentally ill actors could play mentally ill characters. By turning creativity into a moral purity test, we're not promoting diversity. We're quietly destroying it.
Frankly, typical of so much wokeness that doesn't build on liberalism. It undoes it. Empathy, putting yourself in someone else's place so you can understand them better, used to be the very heart of liberalism. Now it's considered offensive because don't even try to put yourself in my shoes because you could never know. What a bunch of bullshit that always was. Of course, no one can ever know exactly what another person's struggle is, but we try.
Empathy was never meant to be political property. It didn't belong to liberals, nor was it foreign to conservatives. It was simply human, the instinct to step into another's shoes, to understand their struggles even if you couldn't live them yourself. That shared virtue once bridged every divide, political, cultural, and personal. But now, the far left insists that unless you've lived someone's pain, you can't portray or understand it. That belief doesn't preserve empathy, it destroys it. It traps people inside their own experiences and replaces compassion with suspicion. And when we stop trying to understand each other, we lose the very humanity that art and culture are meant to protect.
Black Like Me was a 1950s book about a white man who darkened his skin and went out into society because he wanted to understand what his black brothers and sisters were up against. Today, all the woke mob would see about that was a guy who did blackface. Steven Spielberg recently remade West Side Story and bent over backwards to respect ethnicities and ended up pleasing nobody. And it's too bad because the original musical was created by Stephen Sondheim, Arthur Lawrence, and Leonard Bernstein, three gay Jews.
And that's the tragedy of it all. No one can ever truly satisfy the woke mob. They're never content, never consistent, and never forgiving. Their outrage has no limit, their standards impossible to meet. They demand apologies, but when they get them, they twist them into confessions of guilt. Even legends like Steven Spielberg, who has long supported progressive causes, aren't safe. He's re-edited his own classics to appease critics, yet they still find new reasons to be offended. That's the irony. The more you try to please them, the more they consume you. They don't nurture culture, they police it. And in the end, Hollywood is left haunted by fear and self-censorship, a shell of the creative powerhouse it once was.
Next thing you're going to tell me street gangs don't even dance. And now they're making a movie about Leonard Bernstein, and Bradley Cooper is playing it. I mean, if he can get through the picket lines. You see, like Rachel Brosnahan playing Mrs. Maisel and Helen Mirren playing Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir. Bradley is, sadly, a Gentile. And that's the new sin in Hollywood, being a non-Jewish actor portraying a Jew. Because that's always been the problem in Hollywood, not enough Jews.
Actors should be free to explore their craft, to push boundaries, and to transform themselves without being shadowed by ideological gatekeepers. The very soul of acting lies in transformation, stepping beyond one's own identity to bring another person's story to life. That freedom to experiment and stretch beyond the familiar is what makes truly great performances possible. And let's be honest, Hollywood already has plenty of real issues to deal with. Systemic racism, pay inequality, exploitative contracts, and studio politics that stifle creativity. The last thing it needs is another layer of moral policing dictating who's allowed to play what. Casting should be about talent, not social approval. When creativity is ruled by fear, everyone loses: the actors, the audience, and the art itself. Let actors act, and let art stay free. Bill Maher is right. Hollywood has lost the plot. The same industry that once celebrated imagination and bold storytelling now kneels to ideological purity tests that suffocate creativity. Art isn't about checking diversity boxes or appeasing online outrage. It's about emotion, empathy, and truth. When actors are afraid to take roles and producers cast from obligation instead of inspiration, authenticity dies, and so does the magic of cinema. If Hollywood truly wants diversity, it should start by defending artistic freedom, the very force that made it great. Because once you censor art, you don't just damage the film industry, you erase the shared human experience it was meant to express. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.